Hello all, my name is Yossi, and today's lesson is one of several in which I discuss Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. Today we will examine one word in that verse, which will help us understand the verse properly. This lesson is dedicated to the memories of my parents, my father and teacher Avraham Shmuel ben Simcha Bunim, and my mother and teacher Chana bat Shimon. Whenever I discuss the Tanach, what Christians call the Old Testament with Christians, one of the first verses that invariably comes up is Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. This poor verse is, in my humble opinion, the single most abused verse in the entire Tanach. There are issues of context and concept when used as a proof text, but those are issues that I discuss in other videos. What I'd like to talk about today is the 8th word in that verse. In Hebrew, Isaiah 7:14 reads as follows: Lachen yiten Hashem hu lachem ot, hine almah hara v'yoledet ben v'karat shemo Immanuel. The 8th word in that verse is the Hebrew word alma. Christian translators typically translate that word in this verse to mean virgin. Today we will see if they are right. In order to prove to ourselves what almah means, we will use our concordance to see how it and several other related words are translated. Only then will we examine typical Hebrew usage. The word almah appears in the Tanach 7 times. Its masculine equivalent, elem, appears twice. Together they appear in 9 different verses in the Tanach. Now let's examine each of these verses and see how the King James Version translates those words. Start with Genesis 24:43, V'haya ha'almah hayotzet lish'ov, when the virgin cometh forth to draw water. Exodus 2:8, V'telech ha'almah v'tikra et em hayeled, and the maid went and called the child's mother. Proverbs 30:19, V'derech gever be'almah, and the way of a man is with a maid. Psalm 68:25, Betoch alemot tofefot, among them were the damsels playing with timbrels. Song of Songs 1:3, Al ken alemot ahavucha, therefore do the virgins love thee. Song of Songs 6:8, Balemot en mispar, and virgins without number. 1 Samuel 17:56, Ben miha elem, whose son is this youth? 1 Samuel 20, verse 22, Vim ko amar la'elem, but if I say thus, until the young man. And, of course, the verse in question, Isaiah 7:14. Of 9 occurrences, the King James Version chose to translate almah 4 times as virgin, twice as maid, once as damsel, once as youth, and elem, once as young man. In other words, the King James Version is not very consistent when it translates almah as virgin. Next step. When Hebrew speakers protest that the word almah does not mean virgin, the typical Christian response is that the writers of the Septuagint, what Christians say is a Jewish translation of the Tanakh, translates almah as Parthenos, which does mean virgin. Well, before we continue, I have to point out that there is a severe problem with that claim. This I discussed in another video, a video that I made about the Septuagint. But in order to avoid confusion, I will continue to use the word Septuagint here, even though it would be more accurate to use the term LXX. Okay, since we are searching for the truth, we have no choice but to look up that word, Parthenos. So I don't own a Greek Septuagint concordance, so I use the one at www.blueletterbible.org for my searches. I won't go through all of the verses where the word Parthenos or its variants, Parthenon, Parthenu, appear. That would take too long and it would probably bore you to death. I'm a nice guy. I wouldn't want to do such a thing. Okay. To make a long story short, words of the Parthenos family appear 34 times in the Greek Septuagint. This should already turn on a red light. Remember that the word almah and elem together appear only 9 times. This lack of congruence is important, and we will refer to it in our conclusion. Furthermore, the King James Version doesn't always translate Parthenos and friends as virgin. Well, it does translate it 20 times as virgin, it translates it as damsel 6 times, maid 7 times, and young youth once. That's a ratio of 20 to 14 in favor of virgin, but it's pretty clear indication that Parthenos is a general word which can mean any of those things. To complete this part of our study, the word alma also translates in the Septuagint as nenis, niotiti, nianikidon, and nienis, none of which are translated in the King James Version as virgin. Next, even though we're not going to review all of the Parthenos verses in the Septuagint, I would like to point out 2 verses that are telling. The first verse is Genesis 24:16. והנערה טובת מראה מאוד בתולה, ואיש לא ידעה, ותרד העינה ותמלא כדה ותעל, which the King James Version translates as follows, and the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, neither had any man known her, and she went down to the well and filled her pitcher and came up. In the Hebrew verse, both the word betula, virgin, and the word na'ara, a young female, are used. The Septuagint, though, translates both words as Parthenos, while the King James Version translates it first as virgin and then as damsel. The second verse is Genesis 34:3. ותדבק נפשו בדינה בת יעקב, ויאהב את הנערה, וידבר אל לב הנערה. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel, and spake kindly unto the damsel. Well, the Hebrew word that appears in this verse twice is ne'ara, which the King James Version translates as damsel, but the Septuagint translates ne'ara twice as Parthenos. What's even more problematic, though, is the context. This verse appears after Dinah, Jacob's daughter, was raped. If Parthenos meant virgin, the Septuagint would not, or should not, have used it here. So what does all this mean? It should be obvious that the word Parthenos does not mean virgin to whoever translated the Tanach into Greek, or that translation. Rather, it is a catch-all that means young woman, typically in her teens or early 20s. Now, Hebrew speakers know very well that the word alma does not mean virgin. It means young woman. I work on kibbutz alumim, which means young people. Now, a person can be 100 years old and still be a virgin. And alma doesn't mean virgin. Amen, period, selah. One interesting point, and I've not done the etymology of this, though, because I just noticed this recently. I do find it compelling, so I decided to present it here. In 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 5, we read about Shimi ben Gera, who comes out to curse David, as he flees from his son Avshalom, who has taken over Jerusalem and claimed the kingship for his own. And when King David came to Bahurim, behold, thence came out a man of the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera. He came forth and cursed still as he came. Note the name of the place, Bahurim. Bahurim means young men in Hebrew. 1 Chronicles chapter 6, verse 60 refers to this event, and it reads, and out of the tribe of Benjamin, Geva with her suburbs, and Alemet with her suburbs, Alemet, from the Hebrew root elem, as in alma, Bahurim, young men, as in alumim, Bahurim, and Alemet appear to be the same place. Wrapping things up, what Isaiah is saying in Isaiah 7:14 is, hey, that young pregnant woman over there is going to have a son, and she'll name him Emmanuel. And finally, I encourage you, as always, don't accept what I've said here blindly. Open the books, go to the websites, and verify everything we've learned here for yourselves. Thank you, Kol Tuv, and God bless.